transformation. Thank you. So, our theme is exploring the milestones, opportunities, challenges, and the future of digital transformation in Southern African schools. Now, the one thing we'll agree on as educators is that digital transformation is not just a mere trend as we speak. Right now, it's a fundamental shift that is looking and also reshaping the landscape of education across our regions. Not only is it helping us to enhance access to resources, so like right now we have the different platforms that we can use, but also it's helping us to foster new learning methodologies and helping the journey to be more dynamic and fulfilled, both for the educator and the learner who's in this journey. But then here, the best thing is this: as much as it's promising, it's also coming with its own complexities. Now, today we are going to be hearing from a very able panel, a list of panel of experts that have been drawn from across the southern African schools, and we are looking at how are they have dealt with being at the forefront of the transformation and them bringing a very unique perspective and invaluable experiences from their own respective fields and countries. So allow me to introduce on the call, we have Malakan. And if I pronounce your name, I know these are African names, so kindly correct me if I don't pronounce it well. He's an educator and an IT specialist from Lesotho, a practitioner at the forefront of educational technology. He offers ground level perspective on implementing ICT solutions and empowering educators in the digital classroom. It's quite a pleasure to have you here and a very, very big welcome. We have Marcella Diedrichs, a school counselor from the International School of Walvis Bay, Namibia. Now, she brings a very vital perspective on the holistic well being of students in the digital age, where she is going to help us discuss the social emotional aspects of online learning and fostering responsible digital citizenship. I am hoping that our other panelists have also joined in, but if not, allow me to also introduce our moderator, who is Ahmed Yanda, a seasoned editor in chief and an education expert. With his extensive knowledge, I am sure he's going to be the perfect person to help us facilitate this important dialogue. A very big, big welcome, and my name is Gracie Rungu, an educator from Kenya. Ahmed, allow me to hand the floor over to you as you take us through this session. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I've been enjoying your session. I just feel like the presentation should just continue from your end. Thank you so much for championing this and then for also engaging our participants. Thank you so much. In the last 30 minutes or thereabout, you have been engaging our participant, and I really want to appreciate you for the well moderated session. Thank you so much. Yes, we are still going to enjoy, and we're all going to enjoy this session. But before then, permit me to introduce myself. Once again, my name is Ahmed Nyoda, joining from Nigeria. And thank you, everyone. I've seen quite a number of people dropping on the chat where you have joined from. We sincerely we see you, and we want to appreciate you for joining this session. And yes, for those who are here, please, you can nudge your colleagues to be part of this let me say beautiful conversation. Yes, and I hope that we all have our right materials. It's going to be power packed, and our facilitators are here right away to share their experiences and also to share ideas together. Most importantly, to take our education in Southern Africa forward to where we want to see it in the next 5 to 10 years or thereabout. And so, on this note, permit me to welcome all our participants, and most importantly, permit me to welcome all our panelists. In our midst, yes, we have Matella Dredrix. Thank you so much. Ms. Cool Counselor, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Yes, also want to can you say hi to all our participants? Matella? Hello, Matella, you on the call? Okay, while we are waiting for our, please maybe the admin can as well, the host can as well help us unmute our panelists or give them the course right. Thank you so much. So also one of our panelists on this session, this dialogue this evening, we have no other person than Jane Malakin. If permit, apologies if I've not pronounced that name correctly. Malakin, would you like to say hi to all our participants? Please, I don't know if you all can hear me. I just want to be sure that everyone can hear me because it seems I'm not getting feedback from on my side here. Please, can you all hear me?
Hi,
I
Amit.
can.
All
Amit.
right, all right, all right. Yes, I can hear you, Malakin. I just wanted you to say hi before we start to our participants to be sure that you are fully ready for us this evening.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Amit, for giving me this opportunity. It's always pleasure to have a platform like this whereby educators from across the region come together and share their insights on those pressing issues. So I just want to say thank you for the organizers. Thank you for the vision bearers for having this in mind that we need to do something about Africa's education.
All right, great. Thank you so much
And
for that
I think
brief. Yeah,
we are the one that
yes, we're still coming. I know that you have a lot of things to share this evening, but I just want us to just pause a while. So while we are doing that, we have one of our panelists who has just joined us. This is person that I've listened to a couple of times. That is Dr. Padisha Gonde. She is the head of school, Lustania Schools. Thank you so much for joining this evening. I think this is an avenue for me to also learn from you again this evening. Dr. Patricia, would you like to say hi to all our participants? And while she's doing
All
that,
right.
okay, great.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our participants and all our viewers from all across the globe. I'm Dr. Patricia Gonde from Zimbabwe. As you heard from our moderator, I'm happy to be with you here today so that we can share the insights that we also have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I always love your energy. I mean, yes, this is not my second time, my third time of having this with you again. I'm glad doing this again this evening. So thank you so much. And I almost wanted to say that all I will appreciate all our parts. If you can all turn on our videos. Apologies if I'm not turning my video. It's this is Nigerian, electricity and stuff like that. We'll really appreciate if all our panelists can just turn on their video. Apologies if I'm not turning on my video. So sorry about that. And I hope that you all um, understand my plight on my hand here. And we will appreciate if our participants, particularly all our panelists, can just turn on their video. Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia, for joining again this evening. And yes, our participants are ready to to learn from you, your ideas and every other thing, just for us to be able to move Southern Africa, let me put it that way, or perhaps permit me to use Africa in quote this evening. So thank you so much for that brief welcoming. Also, I don't know if Martella is back. If you can just say hi, Martella.
Hi. Hi.
Yes, I.
Thank you for this opportunity. And I must thank everybody who worked very hard to get all of us together in one space with the privilege of having technology at our hands. I'm a school counselor at the International School of Walvis Bay. It's like right in the middle of the Namib Desert. And it's a privilege to me to learn from all of you tonight, because I think it's high time for Africa to take hands and to find a way to assist our children.
All right, great, fantastic. Thank you so much, Matella, for that. Yes, we have our panelists are coming in, and also let me also introduce one of our panelists this evening in person of Dr. Emmanuel Aquerana. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly. He is the director of Smart International in Malawi. Thank you so much for joining. Would you like to say hi to our panelists as well as also our participants this evening? Dr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good evening, good afternoon, according to wherever you are. I'm speaking from the warm heart of Africa, Malawi. Thank you so much for the opportunity that we can share much on education, because education is what is making our world to go round. So when we have such topics on education, I like them. I like the topic very much, because without education, even our world may end up. But I am the activist for girl child education in Africa. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel. To all our participants, I just want to see us engaging on the chat. Yes, this is not just about one person. Let us also receive feedback from you. If you really are excited about the session this evening, I would like to just maybe just put something on the chat, maybe an emoji, just show that you all are following, and I really appreciate that. I mean, throughout this session, let us have this conversation. It's not just going to be a one-way communication. It's going to be a two-way communication, whereas we also want to learn from our participants. We also like to also learn from everyone. You can also be dropping some nuggets. I mean, just drop some codes from our panelists on the chat, and we really appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone, for that. You can just drop me an emoji or drop our participant an emoji to show that yes, we are ready to listen from the words of that knowledge this evening. Thank you so much, everyone. And yes, we are delving straight into the subject matter while we are here this evening. And let me just reiterate the theme for this session: exploring the milestones, opportunities, challenges, and the future of digital transformation in Southern African countries. And that's why we are here. How do we make our education has been great, and yes, we need to, this is 21st century where technology has been on the rise. Particularly, we are in a time where AI, is taking place, taking over. Let me put it that way. And many people say that, oh, AI cannot take over education space. AI cannot do this, and this is the time for every one of us to say, how can we leverage this AI? How can we leverage digital transformation, in our classrooms, particularly in Southern African schools? And that's why we are here this evening. Let me leave it to our panelists to do the justice. Mine is just introduce, and then let's have a beautiful conversation this evening. And so we are getting started right away. And yes, I have some questions, and this is going to be general questions to all our panelists, just for us to set that page that we want to be in the next few hours. Yes, and I'll be starting with Dr. Patricia Konde. Yes, this is a general question. Dr. Patricia, I would like to ask this question. From your experience, how would you describe the current state of digital transformation in our schools across your country?
Thank you so much. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, in the education sector since 1991. That makes me about 34 years in education, and I've seen it all. So from my experience, the current state of digital transformation, I can say the digital transformation journey in Zimbabwe is being characterized by the government's push for digitalization, also coupled with the private sector innovation, particularly in telecommunication and educational technology. However, we still have problems, especially in the substantial infrastructure gaps that are still there. In the rural areas, there is recognition of technology importance, but the adoption, I can say, is highly uneven, because in the urban centers and in well-resourced private schools, I coming from a private school, but I've taught in the government schools as well. We see, yes, there are some significant strides with access to computers, to the internet, and also making use of the integrated digital learning platforms, the learning management systems. But in the rural areas, in terms of resources, they are still lacking. Yes, the government is trying by all means, but as we say, we wait for the government to do all these efforts, and we fold our hands, but it is our duty also, the private sector, so that we can also go out there in the rural areas to help. Yes, I can say it's not here. We are not yet there in terms of equality and provision of digital gadgets in the rural areas. Thank you.
Wow, that's fantastic. Having to learn that you have been in the educational space over 30 years. I mean, this is so commendable, and thank you so much for that. I can see that you have a couple of things to share with us this evening, and for the fact that we have some other questions to ask you. We have also other questions to also to our panelists. Thank you so much. Just the same question I would like to also ask Malakin. Let me just repeat. Let me iterate again. I mean, the question is, from your experience as an educator, yes, how would you describe the current state of digital transformation in schools across your country? Hello, Malakin, can you hear me? Okay, let's just move on to next speaker, Matela.
I agree 100% with Dr. Patricia, and I think this is in all countries, all African countries, we have the same challenges to overcome. What I ask myself always when looking at moving forward is, do we really understand, or the kids really understand, how to think critically and act ethically? So I'm one for that goes fully for first transform the way people think and the way people will handle this amazing freedom what we have with AI, but in a way that it causes growth and not deteriorate the mind. When I work with kids, for now, it's they can go in anywhere, and the challenge is they sometimes they don't look for instance, pornography, but pornography is looking for them. So if we can first lay the foundation or create a foundation where they understand how important ethics in AI is, and before we go to there, we need to transform the minds of the teachers to give them adequate training and a foundation for how these things work. And I think if we start there and we build slowly up, it is definitely something that can uplift the whole of Africa. But the challenge is the inequality of the private schools do have everything, and even the schools in cities and towns, they have computer rooms and they have internet access, but our rural kids, they struggle because the other schools move forward and they stay behind because there's a not reliable internet, there's not it's old computers which they need to work with, and if they have new computers, you have simply to look into how to sustain and maintain these computers to keep them. So there are a load of challenges, but in general, it's exactly the same as Dr. Patricia said, all the challenges, but also the forward moving way.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. I mean, I also resonate. Please, I will appreciate if everyone can mute themselves. Please, let us all mute ourselves.
Sorry about that. You can continue, Ahmed.
All right, thank you so much. I didn't know I've been muted. Thank you. So I actually resonate with some of the challenges that you actually, you mentioned, and I think when we look at it, we're actually looking at the inequalities. We're looking at no internet issues. We're looking at how do we transform teachers, and also one of those things that you also mentioned is the fact that we need to understand the AI ethics. And thank you so much for bringing all this together. Right away, let me just ask this question to Dr. Emmanuel. Dr. Emmanuel, I just want to shift a bit. Yes, I'm still going to ask other panels, but what key milestones have you observed in your education system? I mean, regarding the integration of technology in teaching and learning.
Okay, can you ask that question again, please?
Yes,
Because
yes.
Come
All
again.
right. So I was asking, what key milestones have you observed in your education system regarding the integration of technology in teaching and also learning?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. The challenge that we are having currently is that in schools, most of the schools in Africa, they are from the remotest area. And the challenges that the students are facing is that most of them, they do not have access to any gadgets that are to do with digital and the like. So that's a very big challenge, because when we are talking about the digital world, but most of the schools are still trailing behind. It's because some of them, they're living in an area where there is no electricity, and they're living in an area which is the remotest area, whereby they cannot have any access to these gadgets which are using the modern technology. So that is the first big challenge. And we are trying to come up using the digital advocacy to make sure that we bring up some of the issues that are there, so that governments should look into them, because our children need this transformation. You can see that when we compare those in the urban area and those in the rural area, there is a very big gap between them in terms of the digital world.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Emmanuel. And I really also want to say that I resonate with you. Quite a number of challenges we are currently facing in Africa. I mentioned earlier that let me just basis across Africa. Yes, Southern Africa is still part of the continent, which is Africa, and so we just also have to also explore, so that we have quite a number of things to talk about this evening. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Emmanuel. Yes, I don't know if Markin is has come back. I don't know if he's available now. While we are waiting for him, Markin, I don't know if you can hear me. You can just unmute yourself.
Yeah, sure, I can hear you.
All right, great. So let me also ask you this question I asked earlier, and I just want to ask again. Let me just ask, what key milestones have you observed in your education system regarding the integration of technology in teaching as well as also in learning? I mean,
Okay, thank you, Amit, for that
fortunately,
question.
apologies. Okay, apologies for that. This question directing it to you because as an IT expert, you have a couple of things to share relating that to your country. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Amit. Thank you for that question once again. So I'm based in Lesotho right now, and as one of the developing countries, Lesotho is making huge strides to ensure that the inclusion of digital technology in the teaching and learning space goes up. And personally, since 2012, when I first started using technology in the classroom, I could say there is a huge spike in terms of teachers who embrace technology in the classroom. And thanks to the stakeholder engagement, whereby teachers were trained, although the numbers do not look good, but I can safely say quite a number of teachers are now comfortable using technology in the classroom. And also I'll speak to those numbers of teachers that they have no idea how the infrastructure is there, but they just don't feel the need of trying this form of technology. And in Lesotho, we are doing a great deal of work, part of our daily routine as teachers. I think coincidentally, where I was with officials and we were actually mapping out a way forward for the upcoming program where schools create artificial intelligence in teaching and learning. And I think as a country, we are on a good track. And I am there to witness that as one of the people who are enthusiastic about integrating technology in the classroom. And just on the 28th of July, that is in coming weeks, I will be hosting an international conference whereby some of the speakers in that conference will be articulating on how teachers can actually use AI in the classroom. So initiatives like that actually speak to the challenges that we have as a country, and I've seen that. So that is why we are having such speakers in my conference to say what teachers can they do, what can be done so that everything becomes accessible and doable. I don't want to keep it long. Let me just keep it that brief. Thank you so much, Amit.
Thank you so much, Malakin, for that. One of the questions I intended to ask is the fact that challenges, before we provide solutions, there must be some challenges that we have been able to identify. I love the fact that Dr. Padisha and also Matela has been able to, point out some of these challenges. But I would also like to ask, I still want to ask Malakin, what are the most pressing challenges that is preventing full digital adoption, in Southern Africa?
Okay, thank you, Amit, for that question again. I want to believe that placing relevant infrastructure is one of the biggest challenges in realizing the inclusion of digital, education in Africa as a general. I can also cite the importance of accessibility, even cost of this infrastructure. I just want to make a very live example. Just last week, Starlink, which is making waves around the world, it was launched here in Lesotho. People are complaining about the pricing, which is one thing that speaks to, digital inclusion in education or in the classroom. So once the issue of pricing comes up, it says people are going to be reluctant in trying to include digital technology in the classroom. So those two areas or three areas, the costing, the infrastructure, even teacher training, those three are the key challenges that are in the forefront in making this a long mountain to climb. I think I'm making sense.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. One of the challenges, maybe lack of infrastructure, accessibility. I think I also want to agree on that. Thank you so much for giving us this insight. And I think let me direct this question to Dr. Patricia. And this is because you are head of school and you have been, been in this education sector in the last 30 years. I want to ask, how have you balanced traditional teaching methods with digital tools, particularly in Zimbabwe?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm head of academics, and I know that, yes, we still have those traditional teaching methods that we used to have. So balancing traditional teaching methods with digital tools, particularly in our schools, I think it's about how strategic you are in integration, rather than the wholesale replacement of replacing traditional methods and using digital education. So the approach that we can do, maybe we can say it can be leveraged by looking at the strengths of both, so that we create that holistic and effective learning environment. I can say traditional methods remain very crucial, especially when at the stage of foundation literacy and numerous skills, especially with our lower grades, ECD, we are about grades 1s and 2s. They need that direct instruction to foster that critical thinking through maybe methods that we have learned, the Socratic methods, maybe in-depth discussions. Those are traditional methods we can use. And also not forgetting the use of textbooks. I know that overseas, some schools have gone paperless, but we know that we need to teach our children even gross motor skills, how to handle a pencil, how to write. So the use of textbooks, the use of chalkboards, and face-to-face interactions, those are still the bedrock of core curriculum delivery, especially in areas where digital access also might be inconsistent. So we still need digital tools. Yes, they are there. We can use them to enhance the engagement. Yes, we have iBoards that we use, but we also make sure that we can do the interactions, the discussions with our children, the group work methods, so that at least now they can apply it and even understand better. So yes, we can guide them using digital platforms, but we still need traditional methods, our traditional library resources. I think that's how more I can say. And also, I think we also need to emphasize, we emphasize training teachers not just on how to use digital tools, but when and why to use them effectively, so that we also complement that traditional pedagogy. The goal here is to make technology a seamless extension of teaching, but we still need the traditional methods. Thank you so much. I think that's how far I go.
Thank you so much. I mean, that is really helpful, and I really want to appreciate you for that. I mean, to transform the educational space, we need to also, transform the teachers. We need to train our teachers on how to use these tools, I mean, effectively, and I really want to appreciate you for that. Thank you so much for sharing this insight. And while Dr. Patricia was, speaking, I have the honor to also recognize the presence of one of our panelists on this panel session this evening, in person of Maswening Mokolbuen. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly. He is apologies. I'm trying to just pronounce that name. I mean, Dito Waneng Senior School, Limpopo Province. Thank you so much for coming. Would you like to just say hi on the call this evening, Maswening Mokolbuen?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Masone Mukulane Eric from Mpanama Village in Sekhukhune East District, Limpopo Province, South Africa. I want to say to you that this is one of the greatest platforms that each one of us needs to attend continuously, because it brings about development of our teachers. It brings about, it uplifts our spirits as educators, because you could realize that our education system worldwide, it has been infiltrated wherein our educators are now beginning to lose interest. But through this initiative, I'm telling you that we will achieve the goal of bringing Africa and the whole world together and re-energize our teachers. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. And I'm still coming back to you. And I love how you just come in and introduce yourself in such a unique way. Thank you so much, Okowen, for that. Please, if I'm not pronouncing the name, just take me this evening like that. Thank you so much. I really value that. Thank you. And yes, Doctor, I just want to ask this question to Malakin, and just want you to share an insight or your perspective as an education policy expert. What structural reforms are needed to support large-scale digital transformation, particularly in your country, Lesotho? Hello, Malakin, can you hear me?
Can you ask the question again? Yeah, can you ask the question
Please
again?
go ahead. Thank you. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I was asking from your perspective as an education policy expert, what structural reforms are needed to support large-scale digital transformation in your country?
Oh, okay. So I think as a country, we need to have digital transformation is. We shouldn't just be looking at those physical changes that we would love to see, which can be in a form of reliable infrastructure, but we need to see a mindset shift in terms of policy. We have a very serious problem here in Africa, Lesotho included, whereby we so wish to have transformative, technologies, but we don't see how they are going to pan out in the next 5 years, 10 years. And we get to be stuck to where we see them in the first phase after they have been installed. But as the years roll by, we don't seem to have an understanding of maintaining, keeping the sustainability running. So I think Lesotho is in that stage where we need to come up with sustainable solutions in terms of digital technology. And I want to cite an example. Just like I had said earlier in my introduction, we are trying to have a national educational platform which we can rely on. So far, so good. We are just relying on this major education
Malakin, I can't really hear you. I'm getting some feedback from your end. I think that should be your network. Hello, Malakin, if you can hear me.
But we don't have a localized platform that we can say apply. How am I now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I'm just getting some feedback from your end, but I can hear you now.
Okay. A couple of points around mindset shift, about digital transformation, and also the policy part of transformation, as well as sustainable changes. Things around technology are dynamic. change now and then. So we need to
I think I'm trying to just, I'm struggling to hear. Malakin, we are coming.
And the who can actually of education that we want to see.
Hello,
Okay.
Malakin, can you hear me? Yes, I think I've been struggling to hear you. I think that should be your network. Hello, Malakin, can you hear me? Yes, I'll be coming. I'll be coming back. I'll be coming back to you. Malakin, if you can hear me, I'll be coming back to you. I think I'm getting some feedback that I can't really, I barely can hear you. Maybe that will be due to your network. Can you just give me some minutes? Let me just go back to other panelists. Hello, Malakin, can you hear me?
Okay, let me type it in the comment section and then you'll just
Okay. That's why we'll come back to you. Yes, thank you so much for that. I think that should be the network. We quite understand that, and we certainly want to apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you so much for that. While we wait for you to drop on the chat, one of the reforms that you mentioned that we would
yes,
like
I
to
was just
see.
saying. All right. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Yes. Actually, I can't really hear you. I don't know if it's just from my hand there, but I want to believe that others who can't hear you. I think you mentioned that you would like to drop it on the chat pending the time you have a stable network. So I'm still coming back to you while we take other participants, other panelists' questions. Is that fine? Okay, all right, good. Thank you so much, Malakin. Yes, I have, let me direct this question to Dr. Emmanuel Banda. Dr. Emmanuel? Yeah, if Dr. Emmanuel, I think yes, he is still on the call, and I want to direct this question to him as the director of Smart International School in Malawi. So I want to ask, what role as a leader, what role has leadership played in Malawi's digital education transformation, and how can you resonate that in Southern Africa generally? Hello, Dr. Emmanuel, can you hear me? Okay, I think I'm not sure if he is on the call. Let me go to Eric. I think let me just call you that because I don't want to just murder the other names. Apologies for that. So let me ask Eric this question pending the time Dr. Emmanuel just come back. I guess that might be his network. Yes, we all know. Eric, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, great, fantastic. Yes, I we know that. Don't let me just. South Africa is known for its tech potential. In Southern Africa, and what have been the biggest wins and gaps in integrating digital learning in rural areas as well as also some urban schools?
Well, thank you for the question, my colleague and my brother. I want to tell you that South Africa has developed to the level where the policies are accommodating each and every one of the South African citizens, be it in rural area, be it in urban areas. But there are still gaps that which we are facing through the implementation of the policy. once the policy has been adopted, then it needs implementation. In certain areas, like in rural areas, the policy is not implemented. It is only implemented by 1, 2, 3 schools and 1, 2, 3 individuals who are technologically adept. And again, the conception of skills development amongst teachers is also one of the most challenging aspects that we are facing in South Africa, because not every teacher is technologically adept. And if the policy is saying we should implement, but then the government fails, or the Department of Basic Education fails to train educators inclusively, because you might find that in certain areas, in urban areas, educators are well resourced, well equipped. They are training every day, or they are being trained every day. But in rural areas, educators have been neglected, by so saying. So another thing that is one of the most difficult gaps is lack of risk aversion, by the way. Let me just say risk aversion, wherein our educators are afraid to take on the risk of implementing the new technology system into learning and teaching. So that is one of those that prevents ICT integration in rural areas to be fully implemented. Yet the policy is saying it is implemented. And again, one of the major challenges, again, is what? A lack of technology tools. This is one of the biggest gaps in ICT integration. Lack of technology tools in rural schools. It is one of the major factors that derails and denies development of teachers and of learners in rural areas. And again, once we are having all these gaps, then our development becomes very slow. And remember that once this development becomes very slow, it means the development of ICT integration in the continent will also be slow. But yet, we must acknowledge that once the policy is there, there is a conception of inequality based on the schools that are based on, I'm in the Limpopo province, wherein it is one of the richest, has got one of the richest platinum belt in the continent. But then the schools within those areas where there are industries, where there are mines, are those that are well equipped and well resourced. And behind those mountains, where minerals are exhumed, we are in the poorest area where the resources are not being invested in developing the education system of our rural schools. And yet, we also need to look at the inequality that exists between an educator who is in the urban areas and an educator who is in the rural areas. There is a huge gap between them. So in terms of technological integration in the classroom, the knowledge gap between them, it's quite huge, because there is no implementation in rural areas, there is lack of resources, and there is lack of training of those teachers in rural areas. But in most cities, in most sectors of the country, where resources are enough, teachers are trained enough, but yet we ignore the rural educators who are in the most remotest areas. So now initiatives like this, to some, yes, it becomes difficult to reach. Like you can see that we have been distributing this amongst our educators, but only you might find that people could not afford to come in through lack of technology tools. Yet in our schools, the government is trying to provide gadgets to each and every learner. But now the government is also failing to implement the usage of those gadgets. Yet the educators who are not technological trained cannot be able to train or integrate ICT through these gadgets that have been given to learners. I can tell you that in my school, almost half of my learners have got all these gadgets, but yet because not every teacher is technologically adept, they are failing to use them. So that is one of the major gaps, but policy-wise, South Africa is excellent. The curriculum has been, like coding and robotics has been included in the curriculum. So that is one of the major milestones that yet our country has achieved this far. But yes, there is still that gap between a rural teacher and an urban teacher, a rural learner and an urban learner. There is still that gap, that which I think it's a challenge for each and every country, for each and every educator elsewhere in the world, because we are only a small fraction that makes the whole of this world. So each one of us experiences these challenges, as I would generalize in this way. And thank you for the question. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Please don't go yet. I love the diverse perspectives our panelists, are bringing up to this, and that's why we have panelists across Southern Africa just to share their own perspective, and that's why I've been directing my questions, to that country, just for us to have a diverse, knowledge and diverse solutions to what we are discussing this evening. And I really want to appreciate the fact that I see the passion, you put into this, and thank you so much. That is one of those great things that we see in great educators. The passion. When they talk, you see the passion, and then you also see the energy in them, just to show that yes, we have capable, and educators should not just be sidelined. Thank you so much for that. Yes, you have mentioned, you talked about the policies, and I really want to ask as a follow-up question, how do you think we can bridge this technological gap between rural as well as also urban schools? How do we bridge these gaps? You mentioned the challenges, especially the rural are facing, particularly in some underserved schools in some rural areas. So how do we bridge this gap in your country?
Well, yes, as I have alluded earlier on, that our policy gives everyone the opportunity to execute ICT integration, then we can only close or narrow the gap through consistent and continuous educators development in terms of ICT integration. So through consistency, then that gap will be narrowed. Slowly, we will achieve what we want to achieve. And again, the conception of bringing these tools to school, developing our infrastructure to the level wherein you find the infrastructure development of rural schools becomes likely the same as infrastructure development of urban schools, then that could be able to narrow the gap. And again, once we are able to identify and the government is able to bring about these changes and development, then we can now talk about more financial investment into education system, more financial investment into training of educators, financial investment into developing our infrastructure development. That could only be the solution, because without enough finances, our schools will never be developed. Without enough finances, our educators won't be trained. So educators development and continuous educators development is what we need to close the gap. And that will instill the energy in every educator, will instill the energy and the love and the passion for educators to implement ICT integration, both in rural areas and equally so in urban areas. And that would make it more possible, and that would make it more efficient for every educator in the country.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric, for that question. And yes, through consistency, of course, we are going to get where we want to be. Thank you so much for that. While you were speaking, yes, Malakin dropped his response, and I would like all participants to just go to the chat and see. Yes, in Lesotho, I would love to see mindset change in educators in as far as digital transformation is concerned. Of course, I think not just in Lesotho alone. I think this should also go for all other countries. And as far as Africa is concerned, thank you so much for that, Eric, and thank you so much, Malakin, for that. So, let me ask this question. I'll be back. I'll back to you, Eric. Just take a deep break for a while, and then I would like to ask Martella this question. Martella, this question I'm about to ask is for you. Yes, I can see she's still on the call. All right. So, Martella, how has Namibia schools address connectivity and device access in under-resourced communities?
Um, it's it's very much the same as the previous speaker said. The policies and everything is in place, but to bridge the gap between where the cities, the rural schools are and where the urban schools are is a challenge for Namibia as well. And if we can take it a little bit slower, and we consider the rural schools and uplift them by, first and foremost, training is of utmost importance. We can give them everything they need, but if we have not trained teachers, then we have a problem. Then we will not be able to use what the government is giving us. The government is very much positive about the education in our country, but that is not enough. We as a country, we as a people need to, I think Dr. Patricia also said, we mustn't wait just for the government. We must make plans to bring to bridge the gap between where we are and where the rural schools are. So it's about connection and taking hands and say, listen, how can we help you? But one of the challenges, and I'm talking to many teachers, is I have no idea how technology works. And will they laugh at me if I ask questions and things? And I said to them, no, if they laugh, it's because they don't know maybe how to explain what they think they want to explain to you. So there's a fear of not knowing enough. So we don't start. We don't depart from the little we know because we are shy. It's tough for an adult to get thrown into using technology in classes. So training is of utmost, I think that is first and foremost the opening of the bridge is say, listen, we want this in all schools. How do we get there? To kind of begin with the end in mind. What is it that we really want to achieve? And if we know that picture, then what are the things that we are going to put in place to build that bridge? And it's important that we have a clear picture. So in many of the places where I work, because I do quite a lot of community work, is that people start, we have meetings, we plan, but we don't depart because we're not sure of how to do it. And I think if we go a little bit slower and we start building the teachers, train them enough, then they are then the people who will uplift the kids in the classes. Our teachers, we have teachers that really, really want and really can do it, but you need to be trained to do it. So that is lagging, and I think it's lagging in all the countries because we also live far apart. If you want to come to an urban area for training, then it is very expensive. So if we can use a platform like this where we all get trained, and I think Africa is like family, guys. If you help me, I help you. We take hands and we move forward, and we can do it because Africa is filled with the most amazing people. But we need to make them aware of yes, maybe we're not yet there, but we're on our way there. And our new president, she is a go-getter, and she's pushing us in the right direction. And I believe Namibia is on its way to becoming more than we are at this stage. But there's a lot of things that needs to be done. Mindset
Yeah,
wise, ethically wise. You cannot just, you see, one of the challenges that I have experienced during the COVID time is that e-learning was brought into schools, and all teachers didn't know how to use e-learning, but we learned it. But then the kids who now had to have internet connections and smartphones, they used it in the wrong way, not just for e-learning, they used it in a complete unethical way. So one needs to train the kids as well. So first and foremost, we need, as I have said, um, we need to teach them how to think critically, and Dr. Patricia mentioned that. We want them to act ethically, and that comes from a cultural perspective. That it's important that those basic things, the basic strings of any culture, needs to be the foundation, and we need to build on that, but not leave it behind. We need to keep on building on that. And then to contribute to a meaningful and betterment of a beautiful continent. But we first need to make sure that the foundation of teachers and children are at a strong point. But Namibia is there. We're fighting for this.
hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. I love the fact that you mentioned quite a number of things, and I think I still have my follow-up question that I would like to ask you, and that is because as a counselor, as a school counselor, do you think that yes, we mentioned training is part of those things that every educators need to to be able to imbibe. And yes, as a school counselor, what do you think? Do you think that personally, maybe teachers feel, oh, they don't have that zeal or the willingness to to learn some of these tech tools? What do you think as regards that? Do you think it's could be as a result of willingness from the teachers, or do we say that the school are not also do because of lack of digital tools, making these teachers or making these educators not be able to imbibe tech into their classroom?
In our school, which is a private school, they all use kind of AI, but they still they use the tools, the little that they know that they use. But I think the kids are more clever on the digital platforms than the teachers, because they not, there's no fear in the hands of in the minds of kids. They try, they jump, they do, and not us. So I really think that we need to have a mindset change and say, what are the strengths of AI, generative AI, and what are the weaknesses of it? And how can we change the weaknesses into strengths? And that can only happen when you train teachers enough to be able to train kids on the important things of, like, the ethics of use. But in my school, in the schools in Walvis Bay, where I very many times go to and work with them, they use technology. We have computers in all the schools, but then we move forward and our rural schools stay behind, which is unfair, and it creates an unequal society under the youth of Namibia, and I'm sure in other countries as well. So one needs to find a way to first and foremost go and say, what can we do in the rural schools, or to assist the rural schools by, for instance, giving trainings on a platform like this. I'm part of a platform in Zambia where we do workshops and we talk to each other and we learn from each other. on that specific platform, but we need to interact. But if there's no internet or not reliable internet, you have a problem. So we need to first look into that, because you need consistency in any change that we will bring about. We need consistency. We cannot have a high and then there's a breakdown, and then we have a high and then there's a breakdown, because it breaks the speed of teachers as well. So one needs to have utmost consistency throughout, growing into the digital technology that we can use in schools, because I think it is relevant, it's valuable, it can make the work of teachers so much easier. But we need to teach all, or train all teachers to be able to use it, because they are the makers of a successful Africa. If it wasn't for teachers, none of us would be here tonight. So they are the most important people, and we need to give them what they need, even though it's tough for them. Go slow, and but train them.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Matela, you mentioned that mindset change is one of those key things that I think actually resonate with me, and I really want to appreciate you for. Thank you so much for providing some of solutions as far as education is concerned. Yes, I'll be coming back to you. Let me quickly go to Dr. Padisha, but before then, I just want to get feedback from our participants this evening. Just tell us one thing that has resonated with you, or maybe what one thing resonated with you in the last maybe couple of minutes that we have started this conversation. I would just like everybody to just drop on the chat. Let's just get feedback from you. While we are doing that, just have a question. Yes, Malakin dropped another point. Second point is on strong policies around digital transformation. These policies must be driven by people who are well versed in terms of pedagogy and proper use of ICT tools. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah, without having to know how to operate these ICT tools, it's just as if we have not even we are not ready for tech, we are not ready for technology in our classroom. Thank you so much for that, Malaki. Yes, so let's drop our comments, let's drop our feedback. One thing that's resonated with you in the last couple of minutes that we have started this conversation. Now, yes, to Dr. Patricia, I just want to ask this question from you. Yes, Dr. Patricia, what policies or innovations have made the most impact in driving digital inclusion in your school as well as also in Zimbabwe as a country?
Hello, thank you so much. In my school, in our school, for example, I know that Matela talked about COVID-19. Yes, COVID-19 came. Yes, it was challenging, but it served as a catalyst because it forced us, some of us who were BBTs, born before technology, to upskill ourselves. For example, it made us, we made sure that every teacher in our school had the International Computer Driving License, ICDL, and this helped us when COVID-19 struck, or already we had eyeballs in our classrooms, and we were able to help even other schools developing content, readable content that we sent to other schools that did not have the opportunity to have these gadgets. So this helped us in quite a lot. So the policies that need to be there in a school, for example, like my brother said there, Eric, yes, we can have these gadgets in our schools. We can have the digital tools. Yes, it is. You can take a donkey to the river, but you cannot force it to drink. We need to make sure that our teachers are trained. There is a push, yes, for ICT skills, but many educators still require the comprehensive training, not just on how to use technology, but to effectively integrate it, like I said, into their pedagogy, also to enhance their teaching and learning. And then also, besides that, if you want to go for digitalization, it requires resource acquisition. And this is a challenge that we all face. But then now it needs the government intervention. Like I said, yes, the government can help us, private partnerships, international partnerships. We know that you can look for funding. Without the funding to get those digital tools, then we are not going anywhere. And then we also need to make sure that, yes, the gadget might be there in terms of affordability of the gadgets, like I said, and then also internet access. What is it that you can do as a school or as a country so that your schools or your students are able to buy that data that is needed for them to do a research. It calls for a lot of planning in terms of leadership, so that at least you can have access. I can give an example for here in Zimbabwe, whereby the private partnerships has helped in terms of, we have the Econet. They've helped us with what we call an Akelo digital platform, whereby if teachers can download, students can then go there and get their content or learning materials from there. So it calls us, for us leaders to be innovative. Yes, myself, I've told you that I've been in the education sector for 35 years, but it doesn't make me to sit down, but also to see what others are doing, because through collaboration like what we are doing last week here at Schoolscape, some of them were coming from South Africa just to come and see how our school is integrating digital technology. So we also need to collaborate, policies on collaboration with other countries or with other schools that may also give us ideas on how we can go around it. So also, like I said, solving also the connectivity conundrum. I know that with connectivity right now, some of us are struggling because of internet, or it's because of load shedding. So yeah, there are a lot of policies that need to be put in place for us to have to reach that digital equity or equality that we are talking about. I think that's more I can say, but let's not stop to learn. All right, let's not stop to learn. Let's not stop to upskill ourselves. I know that here we have young teachers. Myself, I can go on Canva, I can do PowerPoints, I can do so much. Also, we have those workshops and make sure that the little that you have, the little knowledge that you can have, you can also share it with other teachers in your school, or other teachers in your community or district. Be a resource person. We shouldn't just sit because we want our children to learn. Wherever they are going, we are going digital. With globalization, you don't know where they are going to end, but let's equip them with the right skills that are needed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Patricia, for that. Yes, as educators, let us not stop learning. I mean, learning continues. And I love the fact that you mentioned that even with over 30 years of experience, you still continue to learn, you can handle so many things. That shows that regardless of who we have, we need to continue to learn, so that while we are also, technology is moving, we're also moving with technology. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. You also mentioned that one of the things that we also need is resource acquisition. which I think that this actually resonate with me so much. I mean, you actually tailored that to Zimbabwe, and I want to tell you, I'm not just Zimbabwe alone. I think some African countries, if not all, I think we need to also look into this, particularly our government. And I want to direct the question to you. You mentioned some kind of intervention, government intervention, and that's why I'll be pushing this question to you. Yes, how do you think government can better support teacher capacity in integrating EdTech in our schools?
The government can support teacher capacitation, organizing, especially we are talking about teacher training. Teacher training needs to be included even in colleges, where they can also learn on how to integrate digital integration into our schools. And then also besides that, they push for the funding method. At least some schools can be able to get the computers that they need, the gadgets that they need. And then I've seen that Zimbabwe, for example, our minister, Dr. Mavetera, has gone, especially in those areas, they've done a needs assessment, and then they've gone around and she is actively in computers and other ICT equipment such as laptops and projectors. That is the government. And we now have what we call Starlink, which is very cheap in terms of getting internet devices and also the broadband that are needed. And then organizing ICT expos. Right now, I think 2 months ago, we in Victoria Falls, where there was an expo. This is the government that is trying to capacitate its teachers. And then also to make sure that the policy on digital education can also cover those children who are also in the rural areas. So this is how our governments can help us in terms of digital integration in our schools.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I think
sorry, I wanted also to say that maybe they can also include I know that for them to equip all the schools with computers, they can roll out in terms of phases after they do their needs assessment to see which schools are in need most than others.
All right, great. Needs assessment. Thank you so much for that insight you have shared with us this evening. And because of our time, yes, if we continue to stay here, I know that our panelists will continue to, to share their experiences, ideas, and then we'll continue to enjoy because we respect our time, and then we may not be able to, further the. But we have some couple of questions, or let me questions, and I will be directing these questions to all our panelists before we call it an evening this evening. So just want to ask all our panelists. Yes, we have mentioned quite a lot of different areas, different perspectives across our countries. And what is one bold step your country must take, or let me say, Southern African leaders must take in the next 2 to 5 years to drive digital education forward? Let me start with Eric.
Thank you so much. We really need rapid transformation from Southern African education system. Southern leaders should copy from one another on how to implement ICT integration, because you cannot operate in silo as a country. You need to look at models of education system around your country and see how best you can take aspects and implement them in your country. I think that is one of those that we need to do. And again, I think we really need Southern African governments to join forces together so that development can not only happen in South Africa, Well, whilst we've got our neighbor Zimbabwe, while we've got our neighbor Namibia and Botswana. So we need to expand all those through partnership. If our government can collaborate, like Dr. Patricia had said earlier on, if we can collaborate as countries, everything will be possible. And that could only happen through willingness of our leaders, because we are only divided by borders. But our leaders, if our leaders are willing to collaborate on education system, then I'm telling you that Southern Africa will transform without fail. So that is one aspect that we need to do. And one of the most aspect again is communication amongst our leaders. If our leaders can communicate, the Minister of Basic Education in South Africa can communicate with the Minister of Basic Education in the neighboring countries, like I've mentioned before, then that will also empower us to say what we are doing in South Africa is also being revered in the neighboring countries. And that on its own will say we are now collaborating and we are moving South Africa and Southern African states forward. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. You mentioned cross collaboration, cross communication across all other African countries. Thank you so much for that insight. Yes, let me call on Matela. Matela, over to you.
I think this is the beginning of a movement that will enrich Africa. Collaboration is of utmost importance, but we need to keep hands. We need to move this thing. It mustn't stop. We need to move and we need to connect with schools and see how we can assist other people. It's not about me. I believe that tonight is about we. It is about us as a continent, whether culture or religion or whatever comes in between. We need to put it apart and say, listen, let's take hands and move forward. Connection, guys, is of utmost importance. And Africa is a continent with people with absolute warm hearts. And if we stay together and if we stick together, we can be the difference that African need. And I want to thank Oduzanyu for this invitation that he gave me. And it's a privilege to be with you tonight. I have learned a lot, and it's nice to have a view, like an eagle's view on what goes on in the other countries. I think we need to embrace that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think let me just move on to Mokowen. Hello, Mokowen. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes, I thought,
Yes. Sincere apologies for that. Dr. Emmanuel. Hello, Dr. Emmanuel.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So I was asking a question, and the question goes to all panelists. I mean, what is that one bold step Southern African countries must take in the next 2 to 5 years to drive digital education forward?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think what we have to do now is to make sure that we are able to respond to changes and trends in technology. We should be able to respond to changes and also trends in technology. This is very important, because if we are not able to respond to some of the changes, then we may still be behind. And also we have to view some of the readiness to be able to adapt and also to integrate with these technologies. We have to integrate, and also we have to make sure that our children are prepared to technology. If they are not well prepared, I think we may not achieve that. So
Yeah. Just say it.
I think Mr. Ahmed.
Dr. Emmanuel, I think his network has disrupted that. Okay, so let me just move on to Dr. Patricia. Dr. Patricia, what is that one bold step you like your country and Southern African countries to take in the next 5 years to drive digital education forward?
All right. Yeah, for my let me say, we need to move forward toward what we call digital access for all. And this does not only mean that we need to, it's only ad hoc donations. For example, like I said, I know that the challenges that we have all said here, I'm coming up with solutions. It will take time, but for the next 2 to 5 years, there's need for mass scale device deployment in all our schools, despite whether you are in the urban or rural areas. And also we need that universal affordable connectivity, whereby there's reliable internet access. Right now, we cannot talk because of internet connectivity. It should be extended to every school, including those in the remote areas. And this would require our governments to subsidize for data costs, expansion of public Wi-Fi, mobile. If it has to be there has to be mobile Wi-Fi. And also, I know that, like we said, the training needs to be extended to our educators. We do not only need to equip our educators, but we need to empower our educators so that they can integrate digital inclusion in the classrooms. I think that's more what I can say.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Dr. Patricia. And you mentioned empowering educators. Yes, this is very, very important, not just educators. As educators, we need to continue to learn, as all our panelists have mentioned on the call this evening. By the way, Malakin, I don't know if your network is stable now. Just give you the floor, or if you'd like to type, there's no problem. We'd like to hear from you. I hope this
Okay,
time
I
around.
mean, can you hear me now?
Yes, fine. I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. So I want to believe that for Southern African countries or our region in the southern part of Africa, we need to start to have developers of these technologies, developers that can actually come up with solutions that speak to the problems that we have. As it stands now, we are using technologies that are actually solving problems at a major scale for other regions, not our region. I want to set an example of what Kenya. I read on the news that Kenya has made coding and robotics a compulsory subject nationwide. So as it stands, we know that coding actually enables learners to start building applications, to start building platforms. And those platforms can be tailored to our needs as Africans. So I think it's really a burning issue that we should be talking as of now, that we need developers who come up with solutions that are local, and that will fast track the the assimilation of technology in the classroom, because now educators will now understand that what they are using in the classroom actually speaks to the situation on the ground. And lastly, I will look into the pedagogy side of things, whereby, you know, curriculum developers need to come up with points or elements that will shed some light into what Africa needs to see in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, 50 years. And we need people who are visionary. We need people who can actually understand what Africa needs. As of now, like I said before, we are using solutions that were basically meant for other regions, not ours. Maswening did allude to something that I want to touch on, which is a collaboration and communication amongst our ministers of education in particular. I now know practically the power of collaboration, especially international collaboration, whereby we exchange a lot of information, be it cultural exchange, be it information, be it knowledge. And I think we can see a lot of transformation if we can allow ourselves to be flexible in terms of collaboration amongst countries, and that will actually fast track the solutions that we are taking right now. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I think one thing that resonated with me is the fact that we need to leverage on our developers. And yes, we need to start from home. We shouldn't be looking for outside developers when we can actually also develop and then also put in for funding and stuff like that for us to be able to move education forward. Thank you so much to all our panelists. I can see some contributions on the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for engaging us in the last 1 hour. I know that it has been an interesting one. Thank you, Sarah, for that insight with you. And to all our participants, thank you for staying up to this moment. Thank you for also listening to our speakers. We would like to take questions, but because of our time, we may not be able to do that. But yes, this conversation continues. You can always join us across our social media platforms. You can also join us for those who are currently on the WhatsApp. Please, and for those who have not joined, please join our WhatsApp group. This conversation continues, and this is just the beginning of many conversations. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to be able to moderate this session. And to all our panelists, I enjoyed doing this with us, and I wrote quite a number of things down just because this session is most important and most dearing to me. Thank you everyone for doing this, and thanks to our participants once again. On this note, I've been handing over to moderator, our anchor this evening, person of grace, to just continue the session. Thank you so much, everyone, and bye. So, Grace, over to you.
Well, thank you so much. Maybe I would request the participants that we have, you can just, by use of your reactions and emojis, we can give a very big round of applause for both the moderator and the very amazing panelists that we have had. It's quite the pleasure. Dr. Patricia, it's really amazing to hear from you again. Hello, Kwane. How are you and how are you doing? The Jan Malakani, it's a pleasure. I look forward to interacting with you once again. And Marcella, really, really amazing. And thank you so much. And a big round of applause to Emerald for convening this. I would also want to appreciate each and everyone who's here. I can see we have quite a number and we have been represented. I'm really hoping that this session, as it has been eye-opening for you as it has been for me, and you've been able to pick up one or two things. Maybe we'll just use 2 minutes just to get a few reactions from the participants as we look to wind down at 8 minutes past the hour. or if you have a burning question before we release the panelists, if you have a burning question or something you'd like to say, even if it's just a quick round of thank you, I can give you that for 2 minutes kindly. Fayo, I see. Oh, is it Fayo or Fayo? I can hear your mic is on. You'd like to say something? Okay. Well, I'm looking for, yes, there's a hand that is raised. Yes, please. Mashilo John.
Okay.
Yes.
I think there's an interruption in the background.
Okay.
I'm very delighted to be part of this movement, and I hope we are going to take it with two hands and run with it, because I feel it's going to bring us change. Now, we know that a lot of people are afraid of change because it looks like they don't know what will bring to them. Some of them think that maybe it may take them on the wayside. They are not going to survive this. But we are happy that the team took us this far, and I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much.
Well, light at the end of the tunnel. That is really amazing. Fayo, you had something to say?
Yo batla ko note. Ke mogala bo mongwe a re ke ena Mr. Machine.
Nell, I can see your mic is on. Would you like to say something? Oh, okay. Oh, well, Tando, I can see you're with us. Would you like to say something, my dear? Well, if we don't have any, I would like to hand this over to Mr. Odu so that we can close this session.
Good evening.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And greetings to the speakers. I enjoyed the rest, very insightful points. So I have a question. I don't know if because I was cut then, but my question is, is it possible in the future to make that to allow teachers to share their experiences and also learn from one another, from across borders? You know how student exchange, they go to learn, but the teachers will go to different countries in the southern area. It will also cut costs because they're close by, and
That's a
yeah,
very
to have the things and be practical with what they're learning.
That's a very interesting suggestion. That's a very good one. That's a very good one. And I'm really hoping that, well, for the organizers and for us who are here, we can even start one that is countrywide before we go to Africa-wide so that we can learn from one another. Remember, leave no one behind, even the colleagues that you have in the staff room and wherever it is. There is no joy in leaving other people behind. Just kindly ensure that those ones who are there are able to learn what you are. In sharing what you have, it becomes better. We build up on one another. But that's a very good challenge, and I'm really hoping we can implement that. An exchange program, we can even start it virtually. Like right now, I heard of the conference that Jane is having. You said it on the 26th, Malaken? That is going to be for teachers to be taught
On
AI.
the
I'm hoping
28th.
the 28th. Well,
Yes,
that
on the
becomes
28th
that
of
can,
July.
the 28th of July. You see, now that becomes one among the other avenues where we can learn from. We are educators. Let us have joy in picking other educators up as well. So I'm really hoping maybe our panelists can share, if that's okay, they can share their social media handles where if we are to reach out, they can share it on the chat and we can reach out to them. Other than that, it's been a pleasure and thank you so much for having me here. My name is Grace Irungu. I'm an educator from Kenya, and allow me to hand this over to Mr. Odu.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a great conversation, and then I'm really excited because it was an opportunity to learn cross-culturally, and then much more important is that we were able to have a regional conversation. Like we know, currently now what we are doing is at the School Summit Africa. Currently, we are trying to engage all regions, and then having engaging all regions, we want to have a documented information about the challenges, the peculiarities, the milestones as far as this discussion is concerned, integration of technology into our education system. This particular Southern African discussion today has actually also opened my own self to issues around Southern Africa. Again, our goal is not only to engage. Like I usually tell people, I think one of the problems we have in education system is we talk a lot without taking actions. This dialogue will not be like that. Ms. Grace, as the head of programs, together with other team members, we are going to have a documented copy. We are going to have like a communique that highlights the challenges, the milestone, and of course, the framework for Southern Africa education system as far as this discussion is concerned. And each this communique will be signed by each panel. When they are signed by each panel, we are going to, through them, we are also going to reach out to their respective country. And again, we are also going to reach out to the Southern Education Board so that they also get a copy. And then we're also going to copy the African Union Education Department. The essence is very simple, is that we do not want to talk alone. That we have been talking for a very long time and little has been done. And as such, it should not be a talk alone. Again, may I also say this, that this regional conversation will not stop here. The essence is we are trying to explore how this thing will be. And one of the ideas I have also gotten here is that we are going to be doing regional dialogue series continually, and more importantly, regional exchange programs. That is a major thing that I've gotten from also here. So over time, after the summit, we are going to do regional exchange program where we just learn about our curriculums, learn about our programs, extracurricular activities, and all other things. So we will, again, may I say that all our facilitators here will be the committee for the regional exchange program, for the Southern Regional Exchange Program. We are going to write to them officially. So every participant, every facilitator here will be the committee for the regional exchange program. We start from there, and from there we begin to move. Like I said, I am more of an action person than words. We have been saying a lot over the years. And of course, these conversations are good. They shapes our mind, they help us see better, but they should not stop there. They should continue with action. Again, may I say that in the communique, we are going to have a framework that will be well written for Southern, we will call it Southern Africa Education Framework. And then, of course, we will want everybody that has been part here, that be part of this meeting today, to be champions of this educational framework. I have always said this, anytime you see any continent or any country that a country goes by private sector. I have always said this, that private sectors are drivers of any growth in any country. So if the private sectors are not doing it enough, we are not going to get any results. So, and I've always been an advocate, and there was a time I had a training for private school owners, and one of the things I said was that if the private sector gets it right in everything that we have been saying, the government, for instance, is a very simple analogy. If the private sector begin to see that there are in private schools, there are innovations that are coming up, things are changing, gradually the government will be forced to begin to take those changes, or else people will begin to withdraw to private sector, and they will not want that. So every development you have seen across any continent has been moved by private sector. And I've said over time that any educational growth are based on 4 pillars. Number 1, the strategy. And somebody said something that interested me. And what interested me, the person said there is no blueprint, no framework. Go to any education ministries in Africa and ask them, what is the framework for development for the next 10 to 50 years? There are no specified and, of course, well-written framework that people can say this is what we are working with. It's one of the problems that we have. I usually say whatever is not documented is not happening. Whatever is not documented is not happening. We do not have documents that state that this is how we want to move. Year 1, this is what we do. Year 2, this is what we do. So any organization, anybody that do not have strategies, well-documented written framework cannot achieve anything. Talk from today to tomorrow, nothing will happen. Then I also say again that after strategy is structure. One of the problems in African setting, especially education and even everywhere, is that we lack structure. Who is responsible for what? Who are doing this? Who are responsible for policies? What do they know? How do they know it? What are they going to do? And so on. So when we lack strategy, we lack structure, and the next one will be system. We do not have a well-curated, explained, and diversified system in Africa education system. We do not have a system. Somebody comes today, do this one. Another person also comes today and do another one. And the much more important one is sustainability. In fact, it's one of the major problems we have anywhere in Africa, especially education system. We are Dr. Patricia mentioned something like that. Somebody starts something today and the thing is high. At some point, the thing come down again. Why? Because nobody is responsible for sustaining whatever that has gone up. And that's why you see something start today and after 2 years, it stops. So strategy, structure, system, and sustainability are the key to ensuring all of these things. So like I've said, we do talk a lot. But me, I'm not that kind of person that talks too much. So like I've said, first and foremost, these panels today will become the champion for Southern education framework. What we are going to be doing is that we will start with STEM programs, maybe virtual. Later on, we can develop these things, and that's the essence of this dialogue. We get ideas as to what can we start as regions. When region starts, it get to country, from country to counties or states, from counties to provinces, and so on. So my take home today is that, number 1, we are going to have a communique written to all Southern African states. in terms of the education ministry. Then, of course, the Southern African school, Southern African education system will also be written and communicated to so that they can be aware. And we, of course, they're going to copy the African Union. Then, secondly, we are going to have a Southern African education blueprint that we can start with, and part of the project of that Southern Africa that has been highly highlighted here as a way forward is what's it called? We have talked about curriculum, and we talk about majorly STEM program. STEM program will start. That from there we begin to see what we can do with that. Like I've said, as we move on, we'll begin to see all other things that we can do. Again, by the grace of God, next week we are going to be having the Western African school dialogue series. And the essence is that we are bringing all Western African countries together as well, so that they can also discuss, and then we pinpoint something again, and then we start something in that direction. All of this information we are gathering is preparing us for the School Summit Africa. Again, may I say that we are still going to have regional discussion at the School Summit Africa, where all we want to discuss are some of the things that we have highlighted, and then we now discuss a blueprint. How do we start, and where do we start? No matter who we are, even if you are not in government, we can start something. And when we start, everybody begins to join. So the School Summit Africa is coming up September 4 to 6, and it's going to be hybrid, 2 days online and 1 day physical. Of course, this regional discussion is preparing us massively for it. Again, I want to say a very big thank you to the moderator of the panel, that's Ahmed Yoda. Ahmed Yoda is the head of media and publicity for the School Summit Africa. Then, of course, the anchor for today's program, Grace Irugu from Kenya. Grace is the head of programs for the School Summit Africa. And a very big thank you to all the facilitators and the panelists for what they have done. I enjoyed every detail. It was elaborate, it was sophisticated, it was systemic, it was straight to the point, and of course, it was laudable and insightful. A very big thank you to you for it. And of course, a very big thank you for everybody that joined. I hope that during the School Summit Africa, when we have another regional discussion, now we have identified challenges and issues and problems. What we're going to be doing in the School Summit Africa is to do a regional blueprint, and who and where do we start from. Then we begin to set up committees for the regions. Like I said, the panels become the committees, and then we had people from that discussion, and then from there we start. Even if it is virtual, we are starting from something. It becomes a movement, it becomes a voice, and then we move on to begin to achieve whatever we can achieve. Of course, this School Summit Africa and this dialogue series will be engaging government and government institutions a lot. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I am Odison Olalekon Adeola. I am the convener for the School Summit Africa. And of course, this regional dialogue series is an offshoot for the School Summit Africa. Of course, the dialogue series for regionals will not stop. After the School Summit Africa, we will continue with it. Thank you so much for joining once again. I wish you a blessed night. God bless you, and bye-bye. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ahmed, over to you. Grace, over to you. Ahmed, are you there? Grace, are you there?
Yes,
Ahmed, are you there?
Here. Yes,
So we can
end
the meeting. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely weekend ahead. Thank you, and bye.